the backdrop? Is that on a green screen or is it actual wallpaper?
Thank you. I fell through a crevasse in Mount Rainier in 2009, and there's a picture of me.
Whoa!
Yeah,
Well, we're glad you're
yeah.
here.
You can go online and read all about it. All you got to do is Google Del Mar man survives crevasse fall.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my claim to fame.
Your claim to fame?
That's my claim to fame.
Well, we're glad you're here. We're glad you
Thank
survived
you.
that crevasse.
Thank you.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm enjoying my sabbatical.
Yes. Oh, a forced
That's
sabbatical.
how I framed it. This is my calendar. This is my calendar for March. And I don't know if you can see. I don't know if you
your
can
green
see
screen just took it over.
Wow,
It's like the Invisible Man.
Yeah, you're like the Invisible Man. We could do a movie about you. There it is. Holy cow. Yeah,
So-
that looks like, yeah.
Oh my God, that's hysterical. So anyway, my calendar has all these X's in it. And as you know, you have X's on your calendar, and basically everything's been canceled for April. So I'm like, screw it, man. April's my sabbatical month. I got food, I got toilet paper, I got money. I'm going through like every drawer in the house, every room in the house, and decluttering everything. I just did the bathroom today. So
Wow.
that's my advice is like, sometimes the house is like so big, you don't want to, we all have to downsize. We got crap everywhere. I just take like one drawer at a time. And I'm like, wow, April's got 30 days. The house is going to be immaculate after that, right?
Yeah, because it looks like
Right.
we'll be in our homes for several more weeks to come, at least in New York. So.
Yeah, people are like, oh, I'm bored at home. I'm like, get all that crap done.
Oh yeah.
Like 3 weeks ago, people were like, I don't have enough free time. And it's like, you have free time now. Do something.
Do something really good. That thing.
And then when we go back to work,
keep pushing out.
Yeah, and then when we go back to work, people are going to be like, oh my God, I have no time at home.
Yeah. What excuses are people going to have now?
Crazy.
I think what you bring up, Tom, though, is like what I think a lot of folks, it's the silver lining, right? Because none of us really could plan for this, and it has been really super disruptive. But I think one of the silver lining, if there has to, there always is something good that comes out of even the worst circumstances, I believe, that it's giving us a chance to reassess, realign.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I find that I'm having
Hey, Jim.
a much easier time to, hi Jim. I'm having a lot more success connecting with people that,
Sure.
I haven't maybe talked to in a while. Or Hank and I actually met at a conference several months ago. We actually got on Zoom a few days ago and thought we brainstormed this up because it was something I really just wanted to do, because I know a lot of folks are struggling with this transition to the virtual space and some of the thing that you talk about, Tom, just, not knowing exactly how to fill their calendar. I never had that problem because I'm just always I'm overstimulated in the head. I can't even sleep at night. But I think a lot of folks are struggling with the virtual piece. How do they transition? How are they, I think some of the things that I struggle with is, and maybe, actually I'm wondering, like Jim, maybe, or Jim might have some input on this, because one of my struggles is I really truly believe that we're going to come out of this better than we were before, because I think people are just more connected humanly. Like we're just taking a pause and realizing what's really important. And I think we're realigning our priorities. But I really feel strongly like we have to try and resemble or assemble things, as many things as we can possibly keep normal. We really should try, because, anyone that we can hire, that it's a trickle down thing, right? So anything that we can maintain, and those of us that maybe, I think everyone revenue has contracted for everyone, right? So now is the time for us to invest in each other. But I feel like we have to keep things moving. And I actually got it kind of took me back. I got a private message from someone who I really respect, and I won't say who it is. I'm not going to even say gender because it might give it away. But this person kind of let me know, people aren't really in that mindset right now. And I'm like, people don't want to think about the future? Like, wow, yes, we do. That more than ever, I think we need to think about the future. But what are your thoughts on this, Jim? You're a wise person. I'm sure you've been encountering this with some of the executives that you coach and educate. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, the curious thing about what we're in the midst of right now, and Joanne, my wife, and I were just talking about this today, this is not much different than what our normal life is like. Now, maybe that's because 11 years ago we made the decision to fundamentally change how we go to market. We basically moved to Florida. We live in a 55 or older community, and I cheated to get in this 55 or older community.
Yes, you did. You look way too young for that.
I'm about 49 years old right now, and they're closing in on me to try and move me out.
I can see why. I can totally see why.
I qualify. But the reality is it's not much different than what's going on. The thing that concerns me is the dynamic that relates to the quality of human interaction that people are having with one another. Because there's a sector of the people that we're in contact with that are really having problems dealing with this. And they're going off the deep end.
Yeah.
And that includes family.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
We got back from a cruise. We had 3 cruises planned. And, you know, the reality was we were the last cruise out of Miami and the last cruise to dock back in Miami. The 15-day notification came while we were on the cruise ship. And we are being shamed by many facets of our family and people that we interact with. We made a conscious decision before going on the trip that we would seclude ourselves and put ourselves into self-quarantine. Yet the dynamic is very interesting on how people are dealing with things. The quality of the human interaction would be the biggest piece that I'm concerned with. Yes, it's affected our business. We have virtually no income at this point because all classes are canceled. And, you know, while we're in the process of going to a
virtual
platform like this, I use this platform for all of my coaching. And, you know, pretty much anybody that wants to be coached at this point is not doing anything.
Right.
That includes a body of volunteer work I do with SCORE. This past year, I became a SCORE volunteer. And we have 50 mentors as part of SCORE organization. And I would tell you that most of those people are experiencing the same thing.
Yeah. I think you brought up something that I find really interesting that I'm encountering as well. And I'd like to hear from other folks on the call. And I kind of alluded to it before you said this, Jim, but I think you're honing in on something, because I got that email from that person, or that private message, and it really took me back. But I think there's just really there's two directions of traffic, or maybe there's just 2 lanes. And one is thinking they're panicking and they're immobilized by fear, and they're just unable to navigate this. And maybe because they're not in control of other things. So, you know, really at the end of the day, when it comes to business, you know, business is a reflection of what's going on with us internally, personally, right? So if we're in a good place, we're going to be able to rebound. Our business is going to be healthy. Our career is going to be healthy. And when something like this happens and it takes us back, not only is it an opportunity, but I think it's a mindset shift, because if you're not in the mindset, like right now, that this is, you know, I started my business just before 9/11. Talk about a bet. This is like very similar to that feeling to me, in that it was like probably the worst time that year to start a business. And yeah, it was a really horrible time to start, but I used that time. I was ramping up, and when everyone got over that initial fear, my business exploded because I had a great network. I was working on my systems. I was developing my team. We were developing, you know, our services, and we, you know, it was just, to me, it was like gold. It was found time. And I think that's the alternative mindset to the fear, is that this is, like Tom said, you know, he's doing all the things that he hasn't had time to do. And I talked to someone, I don't know, like 10 or 15 minutes before we get on the call, one of my vendors, and they really can't do their job virtually. So he's gardening and cleaning the house and fixing the chair. He's going through his honey-do list. So as soon as this happens, as soon as this the cloud fear clears, he's going to be able to hit the ground running. But I think a lot of folks just aren't able to do that for some reason. So Tom, do you have any thoughts on that? You counsel a lot of folks.
I do have some thoughts on that. Number one, I wanted to thank you for having me on the call.
My pleasure.
Number two, I belong to a leads group called the Bethlehem Business Builders. We meet in person twice a month. We're meeting once a week now, just to offer encouragement and support. So I just throw that out as an idea. I don't know if you want to meet with me once a week. That's a lot, even for my family. So yeah, obviously this has given us a lot of time to reflect. What I've learned is we glorify busyness. We let busyness claim all our priorities. And now we're being asked to stop and reflect. And that's what I do as a career counselor. I help people with life goals and that kind of thing. But when they come to my office, the first step is self-assessment, then career exploration, then action plan. Right. So in self-assessment, you're looking at your values, your interests, your personality traits and skills. And the way I do that is through career testing. So this is an excellent time for people to be thinking about what are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals? And the question I always have for people is, what are you learning about yourself right now? That's the most important thing. I teach rock climbing. When somebody comes down from a route at the climbing gym, I don't say, do this, do this, do this, do this. I say, what are you learning about yourself? And I think, to your point, Rebecca, we are going to be better people. This is our World War II. This is our Great Depression. And, when we came out of the Great Depression, you know what people did? They saved money. My mom's got so many yogurt containers in the house. I'm going through them all because, well, you might need a yogurt container. I don't know what the hell you need a yogurt container for. Right. 25 of them, really? That along with the coffee mugs. I think we're going to be better savers. I think we're going to treat each other better. I think we're going to be, I'm hoping we're going to be more huggy-lovey. Like
after the distancing thing, you think?
Yeah, it's like, my daughter was in Italy and she arrived home safely. She was in self-quarantine at her mom's house for 2 weeks. And I just saw her on Tuesday. We met at the high school parking lot and talked to each other from each other's cars. And I thought to myself, this looks like a drug deal going down.
Oh, no.
And then we went for a nature walk yesterday, 10 feet apart. And then we had pizza. She got the pizza, put it on the roof, put it on the hood of the car. And of course I had to wipe it down because the viruses can be on the cardboard for 24 hours. So things like that. I just think that this is a very special time. We shouldn't squander it. We shouldn't be longing for busyness. And we should self-reflect. The governor said this is the time, and I really appreciate what he said, and that is social distancing, spiritually connecting. And I think, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm looking at every day like, wow, this is a sabbatical. I got a doctoral degree and 15 years of experience, and I never got my sabbatical, so I'm going to take it right now.
Right.
The other thing is, God bless our president, but I think it's delusional that the economy is going to be getting going on Easter. That is a fantasy. That's not happening.
Right. On the business side, there's somebody I'm connected with on LinkedIn, Rachel David. If you don't know her, follow her. She's pretty cool. But she was actually recently taking time off from creating content because it was stressing her out before this happened. But she posted startups founded during the last recession from 2008 to 2010 include Uber, Airbnb, Slack, Pinterest, WhatsApp, Square, and Venmo. And then she said it's going to be okay. So I think it's what you do during these times to strengthen your business, or if you want to start a business, that's going to matter in a few months from now.
One more point I'd like to make, and that is, to your point, Rebecca, is people are fearful, and I see myself as a leader. I'm not going to cave to that. So every day on Facebook and social media, I'm posting something, and today's was hope will not be canceled. Okay, and
love it.
they're doing the hashtag.
Yep.
stay home, stop the spread, save lives. And my mom lives with me. She's 84 years old. I mean, I am like locked down there. And I hashtag protect the elderly. So whatever we can do to keep that hope out there, I'm just going to encourage people to do. You know, you'd be amazed what one post or meme will do to people. So a lot of people are afraid, but we've got to take that leadership role and be the ones that are positive.
That's it right there. And I think every single person on this phone call, and I want to open it up for a minute. In a minute, I want to open it up for people that have questions, or they're looking for resources, or they're looking for work, or they're looking for solutions, or they want recommendations or suggestions. But I think that's it, because the more we can show others that this is a time for us to not just take care of personal business, but to help each other get through this, I think the faster and the better we get out of this, because that's just our human nature. We're programmed to help one another. And when we do that, we all come out better. So I'd like to open it up, and Hank, I know you're watching, this is also on YouTube and live. So Hank's got some other folks, chiming in, and I'd like to open it up, see if there's anything that anyone is struggling with, anything, and don't be shy. Like if it's, if it's a logistic thing, or if it's it's like a strategy thing, or if it's just a feeling thing. I want to open it up for anyone that has any questions or needs. Like, what's your ask right now? Why are you here today, and what do you need, and how can we help? Anybody?
Well, let me put out something now I'm kind of struggling with a little bit. It's when I'm at the office, it's easy for me to get up and go get water, go to the bathroom, take the long way around the office and get a lot of steps in. When I'm working in my home office, it's a lot harder for me to actually stop and go take a walk outside. And the kitchen's right around the corner from my office. What are some ways maybe I can force myself to get up and go do something and not feel like I have to get everything done? Because now I've taken it on myself to be a go-giver and do calls like this and keep putting out content to help others, but I don't think I'm helping myself enough.
Right. And I think I personally, I've been working virtually off and on for almost 20 years. So I feel like I'm really personally like a little more seasoned at this than some people. So I have to take a physical break personally. I get on the treadmill every single day, I couldn't when I broke my leg, right? So, I mean, that's just, sometimes you just can't do it. And we're in the winter, you can't go out and walk. But just honestly, even if you only go out for 15 or 20 minutes, that it's not just a physical thing, it's a mental thing. Like, I don't know, there's a couple of people that were talking about this morning. If you can just break out of your environment, just force yourself. And if you're not doing it instinctively, set a timer on your phone and make yourself block it out in a calendar, like Tom showed his calendar. I mean, hopefully everyone has a planner and you're planning out of your day every day. But put a block in for yourself for your mental and physical wellness, because that's such a key part of keeping a positive mental attitude, being able to help one another, helping yourself, and not getting run down, because we're all stressed out anyway, because we're in unknown, uncharted territory, right? So if we can actually take a minute and make sure that we're putting that time together for the mental wellness, the physical, a little bit of 15 or 20 minutes will totally rewire your brain. It'll open you up for creativity. It'll re-energize you, it'll clog out those cobwebs and give you a fresh perspective. It works for me every single time. And if I can't go outside, I'm on the treadmill. I'm putting on my headphones on. My husband laughs at me when I don't sing very well, but I'm out there, I'm on that treadmill swinging my heart out. So, but it really makes a difference. It really, really makes a difference to you. You have to schedule it in. It's really, I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that, but I think, Joe, you were doing something. When last time we spoke, you were telling me about something you were doing to kind of keep those mental wheels going, weren't you?
Rebecca, I'm having trouble with your audio.
Uh-oh, okay. I can hear you fine if you can hear us.
Oh, okay, great. Hey, everybody. Sorry to be, I'm technology challenged over the past few years, I think. But what was the question?
I was just asking you to share, you mentioned to me a week or two ago, one of the things you were doing to kind of get out of the routine and get it, walk or cycle or whatever it is that you were doing just to break the.
Yeah, and I put it on my calendar yesterday and actually got 2 blocks in. I got about 2-mile walk, jog out in Bethlehem. And then later in the night, I went out to try to catch the sunset, and I did.
Yeah.
It didn't require engaging with people, so I did my part. I'm having a hard time with that aspect of it because, as you know, 3 days a week I'm usually in front of people and interacting. So that's been difficult to what I call go from 60 to 0.
Right.
To put the brakes on that quick. But I think after 4 or 5 days, I'm there.
Good. Good.
I had a couple points, especially for Hank. One of the things that's been very helpful for me is to create structure. Like, for example, I go to bed a little bit before 10. I get up a little bit before 7. So I am getting 9 hours of sleep. So I'm totally rested. Then what I do is I let the dog out, and then I actually do watch the news. I want to stay up on the news, but I think it's really important to limit it because it's a 24-hour news cycle. So then, after I've had my breakfast and my coffee, I do all of my phone consultations, my resume critiques in the morning. I listen to the governor's address, and by 12 o'clock, I'm done with news or anything like that. And then the cleaning starts and the downsizing, and I'm looking at it in a great way. And then what I do is at 6 and 6:30, I watch the news, and then my dog and I go for a run. We go on the rail trail. If you go at 7 o'clock at night, there's nobody there. I did go at 3 o'clock the afternoon the other day, and I felt like it was like kryptonite. There was like so many people there, and I was really paranoid. So that creating that routine, I think, is good. I try to watch like one Netflix or one movie per night. I've been doing a lot of reading. So I just look at it as a time of gratitude. The other thing, Hank, is if you don't get stuff done today, there's always tomorrow, because there is no difference between Saturday and Tuesday. Right?
Exactly.
Normally you would be like, oh, Saturday, I'm going to go do something fun. It's like, no, you do that on Wednesday.
Right. Well, I need to find a cure for the please disease because I want to please everybody.
Well, it's like if you don't get your stuff done today, you can get it done on April 7th, because there's no difference between now and April 7th. Really, your taxes aren't due until July. Let's have some fun.
I like it. I like it.
Thank you.
Okay, we just had Sarah join us. Hello, Sarah. Welcome.
Sarah, somebody I know, she actually is on the volunteer committee for the American Marketing Association with me.
Oh, wonderful.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
No,
That's
you're
all right.
fine. You're fine. We're glad you could join us. We can't see you yet, but that's okay. If you're here just by voice, that's fine too. So I think one of the things that I think most people are, oh, Jim's posting wisdom. Everyone read the chat. If you don't have it open the chat, the chat. In fact, I'm going to read this. Do I have your permission, Jim, to read this, or would you like to read it yourself? Oh, we can't hear you for some reason.
You're more than welcome to.
No, I'd love to hear it from you. You're the wisdom giver. Share it.
Well, the comment was made about Easter. All that is a goal.
Yeah.
And I think the important thing about flattening the curve is understanding that that's math. And we know that the exponential growth will at some point come blank or high water. It will flatten.
Yeah.
And there is going to be something on the other side of this. If you're looking at it from a financial standpoint, look back at every other epidemic, war, and whatever that has taken place. It always comes back in multiples of where it began.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the blip right now that we've had, because even though today is a bad day, this market has come back substantially from a financial standpoint since the news came down. So that's the financial side. From the spiritual side, my wife and I know what our destiny is, because we know what the ultimate plan is. People say, why did God do this? If they're spiritual as we are, we believe in Christ, we believe and have a faith, we know what's coming. This is still a part of God's plan. I mean, so whatever happens on the other side, whether 7 days from now I contract this and I die, I'm going to live. And that gives me focus from the standpoint of a spiritual goal, relational goal. I think those of you that are talking about continuing the work and connecting with people, that's important. I mean, wow, what a stock to buy. Zoom, GoToMeeting. And people are interacting in ways that they did not want to accomplish the learning curve. So we flattened the understanding. My prediction is it's going to be far easier for people to interact like this and actually turn their cameras on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Everybody will have their camera on.
I mean, that's
I hate seeing myself.
When Sarah makes the decision to click camera on, and
I love you, Sarah.
And we see that people's hair is growing out, and they
not great. I'm the only girl bold enough to be here. My makeup starts today. There she is. Sarah, we love you.
And they're not getting their nails done. They're real people. They're not doing makeup.
I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Jim, you scared her away. You have to go brush your teeth, I bet. So.
I read Jim Cathcart. He's a presenter in my industry. He does a lot of programs. He did an article the other day about when you do these presentations, you should dress for success. And I love you, Jim. I hope you hear this at some point in time. When I moved to Florida, Rebecca, you could tell everybody, my style was the picture.
Bow tie. Always. Suit, white pressed shirt, tie. He was polished to the T every time I saw him.
I came down to Florida 11 years ago, and I began to walk into businesses with a bow tie and a suit, and people looked at me like I had a triangular head, because nobody in Florida dresses up at any professional level. And it's not unusual for the executive who may have a jacket on and a polo shirt to stand up and be in a pair of shorts. It's 93 degrees here right now. Sorry to break the news to you. I love the picture of snow behind you, Tom, but I'm not interested.
Oh, I love it.
So one of these has a level of, once we come out of the flattening, how are we going to set a trajectory toward where we want to be? I don't think Trump believes that it's going to be all sweet roses and glory on Easter Sunday, but he does know that there's a huge contingent of the population that thinks, wow, wouldn't that be a great plan that we have this resurgence on Easter? And when a great celebration takes place in Christian lives and the economy comes back, it won't happen like we all want it to be. It's never going to be like it was. World War II still lives with us. World War I still lives with us. It's going to take us 100 years to get over this.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we won't accomplish goals.
Right. And we change. And actually, I think that's the one thing that I think you said that is when everyone's reacting about the actual date, but I think as humans, we have to have an endpoint in mind, right? Because without, even if it's moved out a month from then, I think people will adjust. It's the mentality as humans. We have to know, we have to have something to work toward, right? So either have a plan or plan to fail. So, exactly. If he didn't throw something out there, because there are areas of this country that are not nearly as affected. Now, I'm in New York. We have people, Hank's in North Carolina, you're in Florida. Sarah, where are you located?
I'm in North Carolina as well.
North Carolina also. So, we have folks all over the country. Who knows who else is listening where they're located. But, there's some areas that aren't as badly hit, and they will be able to resume life more normally quickly. But I think without a date out there, it becomes really much more intimidating for folks. You know, they have to know there's an end coming eventually, right? We have to have something to look forward to. Just human nature. And I think it just gave everyone, that's why the market rallied. They know he's not going to let the whole country come back in a couple weeks. But I think, you know, everyone has to have some idea that this is not an endless thing. That's the part that was, you know, depressing everyone. Go ahead, Tom. I see you. Go ahead.
A couple things. To Jim's point, stocks are the only thing that when they go on sale, nobody wants to buy. I mean, if there was a car, it was $50,000 and it went on sale for $25,000, you'd be like, rush right out. If you got any cash on the sidelines, you need to buy right now. It's like, never mind.
Yeah.
Anyway, the other thing is about goals. I mean, I have this planner and it's month at a glance. So I can look at the whole month of April and say to myself, okay, maybe things are going to start to open up in May. What are my goals for the month? And I like Jim's 7 areas of life. I have it in a frame of 9 areas. And I'm just thinking about these different 9 areas and what I can accomplish by the end of the month. So I start the month off, here are the goals. And then at the end of the month, evaluate. Most people do not live like this. Most people are like trying to get through. The people that are struggling the most, are some people that live day to day anyway.
Right.
You know, they don't have goals. So the people.
And I think that's the part that, you know, once you learn, you know, I never knew how to do planning. One of my employers, like 25 years ago, sent me to Franklin Covey time management training, and it was the biggest gift I ever had. And I've used some version. I've created my own version from that, but I've used some version of that my entire life since then, because that is how you achieve a goal. But here's the thing, I think a lot of people get overwhelmed with, okay, I'm scheduling my day, what am I going to put in it? And until you understand that, until you make your actions match your intention, like, you really have to have intention first. You really have to have a vision of where you're going, and then everything that you do or plan for that day, once it aligns with that intention, then you have a plan. Like, you can plan it out on a daily bite-sized piece, but you really have to know where you're heading. And once you do that, everything changes. Like, all the tumblers start clicking into place. It's like that 10-speed bike, you know, like you're chugging away, and all of a sudden, like, you click, and then you're cruising along. It's like, okay, I can do this. You might be going up a hill, but at least you're in gear. So, you know, that I've learned a lot from the planning.
And to Jim's point, if Jim's going to get biblical, I would say this: it wasn't raining when Noah built the ark.
True.
Okay.
Good point.
I have a stash.
Jim likes that one.
Like I'm like Susie Orman. I got a little cash on the side because of, you know, these kind of situations that pop up.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to ask again, because we want to help people get through this. Is there anything anyone is struggling with? What is one thing? Well, since we don't have, do we have any chats or any questions at all, Hank, coming in from your folks? Any asks, any requests or challenges?
Again, one thing I did is made a mistake. I'm doing the Zoom and then I'm doing the live at the same time. I don't think my internet's liking that at all. So next time I'm just going to choose one.
Okay.
But I think it's going okay. But I'll ask again to see if anybody has any questions.
Okay. Well, while we're doing that, is there anyone on the video chat right now? Is there anything that any of us can do to help you? Is there a goal that you're trying to reach? Or is there something you're struggling with? Is there a certain kind of client? Is there a certain, you know, is there a business challenge? Are you trying to figure out what is it? Is there anyone on the video chat right now, or on video call right now, that is there anything we can all do to help you? What can we do to help you today? Anything, like,
Rebecca,
be anything.
are you able to hear me?
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, great. Hey, I don't have a specific challenge that I need help on, but observation about networking. I am in agreement that we should still be out there networking. We should still be out there in our digital space wherever we are. But I wanted to hear more about how you got resistance out there, because I've been cautious all week about, you know, doing anything really aggressive you know, in the digital space about work. You
Right.
know, it's all been about, hey, let's all get through this. You know, make too many trips to the refrigerator, blah blah blah.
Well,
Any ideas there as to how do you tread lightly, I guess?
yeah, I think that the first most important thing that I've learned, and I'd love to hear what everyone else's thoughts are, but the one thing that I've learned is, well, first of all, you can't stop everything. So, and it may rub some people the wrong way still, but that's because of where they're coming from, and we have to allow them to do that. They may be struggling. I got a thumbs up from Jim. So it may be because of where they are. We have to let them be resistant or not appreciate where we are, but we have to move forward. Think of it, we all stayed home and got into this time suck, and none of us were here today connecting, and all the folks that are watching or listening, we weren't spending this time together, what would we be doing? And so would it be as constructive, or would we be making connections and maybe, creating relationships that we might be able to help each other? So if there's not something like really glaring right now, a week from now, if we were to reconvene a week or 10 days from now to see if there's something going on, one of us might have an ask, and because we know each other a little bit better, we might know how to help each other faster. Right. But as far as, tone, and I think it's, I personally am trying to balance it. I'm trying to find ways to, it's funny because I've always done a ton of gratis work, right? So it's just been my heart to, try and help people with certain things, and and I'm getting a little overwhelmed with that, and I love doing it. But I guess I'm trying to balance that, and I'm trying to let people know I'm doing it, because if they don't know I'm doing it and they see just the other side of it, if they're seeing me just, like I have a crowdfunding campaign going right now, and, I'm just kind of like softly, mentioning it because I'm on a time crunch. I mean, I had no control over the date that this went live because they approached me. I couldn't pull it. So, I'm probably, it's a fraction of what I expected to happen. So I'm just kind of trying to keep it alive just because I have an obligation to the agent that I signed with. But I'm really much more focused on, trying to look past that. I'm working on the things that are going to help me long-term, the things that I want to do to help because this is what the rest of my life is going to be about, trying to connect people, trying to help them find people that can solve their problems, and, empowering them. And that's why I call it human AI, trying to help us connect and actually get to a higher place together. Because when we put our minds together, we can go to a different place. So, I don't know if I've answered your question, but I think it's just a balance of trying to, keep your cylinders going so that you're right. Not unnecessarily sacrificing your business or your career, but then maybe looking at another way you can do it. Maybe if there's a balance between just the investment that you're making, the give and the take. I guess the balance right. Of the give and the take is what I would suggest.
My mantra lately has been keep moving forward, amongst others. So my question or my challenge would be, I need people to network with. And that's not just because of this current crisis. I was reflecting recently upon my days of network luncheons, and it sounds like Dr. Tom still has something going right over at Bethlehem. But I was involved in network lunches, and this is before the digital times. You know what? I didn't know much about insurance bonding, bonds for performance bonds and likes of that. But I always had somebody I could call at Rose and Kieran that would take my call and address the question. And it was a good network that between lunches and newsletters, we collaborated a lot. So collaboration in some shape or form with other people, or knowing who to call, is something that I've been distanced from for a while, and wondering if there's some digital formats out there, or should we create our own?
We're doing it right now, Joe.
Right?
Can I share some thoughts on networking really quick, especially when it comes to LinkedIn? I found that people want a network, but they seldomly want to network. I have this rule that I do not accept blind invites on LinkedIn, and there's a reason for that because I have a very strong and powerful network, and I like it. I do not get a lot of spam, but I reply to every single invite just saying, hey, if we've met in the past, let me know because my memory may not be serving me correctly, but how can I be of value to you? And more importantly, how can you be of value to my network? I'd love to hop on a call and get to know you, but just let me know why you chose to connect. I get less than a 40% return rate on that. In other words, people are just looking to grow the number of their network, not the quality of it. So Joe, if you're reaching out to people on LinkedIn, just give them that kind note in there and just tell them why you wanted to connect, and more people will probably accept that. And then there's probably going to be a lot more groups starting up that, get away from these Facebook groups, because I think that those are a little bit more toxic, right? You want to have Zoom calls with people. And I think that's great to do. Or when we can get back to the physical groups and meetups and start one, like you said, if you want to start one in your local area, that's great. And if you start a Zoom one, let me know. I'd love to join it.
Yeah, and I think that that's the one thing that you might have to revisit, Joe, is that this is the future of networking, because you're not always going to be in a physical space or and you don't want to be. You and I've talked. You're not always going to be in the same physical, the same geographic location, and you want to have that mobility and the autonomy to know people. I mean, the way I use my social media, I actually try to organize it in a way so that if I'm in a certain city, I can reach out to someone in my network, because I've worked really hard to develop that network and make those connections, that I can almost always find someone to meet up with in a city that I'm visiting. So, that takes years to do, but you're doing exactly what you need to do now. You just have to kind of look for new opportunities like this that aren't always in your industry too, because there are going to be people in any combination of humans. Someone could open a door for you that would be much more meaningful than someone you're competing with for business. So it's really important. Jim's got a suggestion.
Joe, here's one for you that I have found immensely helpful. My roots go back to Albany, New York. Rebecca and I met during those years. But when I started my business, and I've been a curriculum developer and training presenter for about 30 years now. But when I began, I was gainfully employed and I needed to borrow money. The first bank I went to laughed at me, and they recommended that I go to another bank to get rejected, because in those days, you needed 3 rejections in order to qualify to be a client of SCORE. Now, in years past, SCORE stood for Senior Corps of Retired Executives. And in 1964, the Small Business Administration set up SCORE as a group of volunteers, which has now grown to the point where there are over 350 chapters in the United States. There are 13,000 volunteer mentors who collaborate with businesses or business leaders, whether they are beginning their businesses, they're growing their businesses, or they're in the maturity phase of their businesses. You can go to score.org. It's totally free. There is no fee. And that's the biggest challenge that we face in dealing with people. People just don't believe that the quality of interaction or engagement is what it is. Some of my associates down here in Florida are chairpeople of major corporations. They've retired down to Sanibel and Captiva in the Southwest Florida area. So it's not uncommon to walk in Deloitte Touche, some of their originating executives, the chairman of Macy's Corporation, not that you'd want to use their financial example, but
right.
Certainly you have expertise from many different directions, but you can interact with them through text, through email, through face-to-face meetings, through online webinars. But one of the most powerful assets is if you go to that website and you get familiar with it, there are several thousand webinars that have been produced on some of the topics that we've all talked about here. And they're being presented live almost every day, but you can go and get any of these to listen to them. And I have found that reaching out to these mentors is generally you get an answer back in 12 to 24 hours. So you have complete access and you can go in there, you can pick them by industry that they're in, product grouping, what their role was, and you can zero in and find somebody that you really want to work with. So that might be a suggestion in that regard.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, it's it's a great resource for services as well. You know, like if you're actually looking for a vendor, you know, they know of someone if you need talent or if you need a service. I mean, I remember, oh my gosh, long before the internet, probably almost 30 years ago, I had a score, you know, I was trying to figure out accounting software. We're talking 90s, okay? So, but I had someone from SCORE come and actually, you know, and it wasn't that enlightening, but it was a great connection. And, you know, it was just a great way to, you know, expand my knowledge, and they got to know a little bit about my business. And it's just you know, there's a ton of resources available in SCORE. So I thank you for sharing that, Jim. That's huge.
I should quickly clarify that in the number of years it's been since I originally began to work with SCORE, there's no longer a requirement that you be rejected by 3 banks.
That's good to know.
Just go to SCORE and they'll give you help and advice and introduce. I now have an office right next door to the economic director of the county.
Oh, nice.
Because I walk in there, nobody uses our SCORE office. I'm in October, I'll assume the chairmanship of 50 some odd mentors here in Southwest Florida.
Nice.
So, you know, you have access to wonderful people.
Yes. And Hank just put in the text that he's also a SCORE mentor. So we have 2 brilliant minds on this call. So thank you for sharing that, Jim. I think that's a really important. So Joe, did we give you anything to work from? Are we helping you out at all, or?
You are. I before this had not heard of SCORE, and I feel naive that I've never heard of it in all my ventures that I've been involved in.
Hank will tell you that's the biggest concern we have. It's unfortunately it's such a secret, nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
The group that we had was industry specific, so we had 80 different categories of business professionals and owners, and I'm sure we had. In fact, I can remember we did have an accountant. So back then, when I needed an accountant, or if I needed something, advice to do with accounting, there was a resource I could pull out, and that's a great answer. The networking days really got me, and when I say networking, I mean before the internet. Really got me into a lot of doors and a lot of introductions. And
well, now you have to adapt to the virtual space. And one of the things I'm going to point out to you is that Sarah has asked what your last name is. And here's a tip for everyone that's on this event, whether you're in the virtual or whether you're on the video chat or if you're listening in. One of the most important things you can do is come forward and be as authentic and revealing as you possibly can, because Sarah wants to know what Joe's last name is. And if she didn't ask in the chat, we don't know who you are, Joe. So if we wanted to reach out and help you, we couldn't even look you up in LinkedIn after the fact. So that's a really important point. I think I see this a lot on Zoom lately. A lot of people come in with just their first name, or they come in incognito, or they come in with just a cute little username that they're using on social media or one of their social platforms. I think it's really important that we all remember that we're trying to connect as humans. And if you really want to get something out of the time you're investing in, you know, one of the things that usually happens after these events for me is that there's someone that they wrote something in the chat that was relevant to something that I'm thinking about, or I can help them. I will look them up on LinkedIn, reach out, and we'll have a separate conversation. So that's how you take this networking to that level, because you're not going to have the chance to go and sit at white linen tables and network and lunch and, you know, but honestly, the benefit of that is that your network can grow exponentially faster virtually without you having to put a suit on, drive, give up that hour, and hope that something comes out of it. You could actually be in 2 or 3 events in the time that it would take you to do that and never leave your house. So it's really, you know, one of the things, I think you just have to be willing to, you know, and it's not a criticism, Joe, I'm just trying to help you out.
Right. And you can do it in your shorts like Jim.
Yeah, exactly. In your gym gear. I love it.
I was about to say, now, Rebecca, to your point about like being real and authentic, and then Jim shows us his legs. I mean, that's like, you know, I've been on a lot of Zoom calls and nobody's wearing makeup. I haven't put on makeup in like 2 weeks.
Oh man.
I mean, look good.
About it.
Thank you.
You don't need it, Tom. You don't need it.
Sarah would never go to a business meeting with a baseball hat on. I mean, this is great, you know.
That's because of this. Let's be honest.
Sarah, you have no excuse. I'm sorry. I can't give you that pass. I didn't wear my ball cap. I'm bearing it all. So
I'm on this Zoom call on Tuesday, and one of the people that I know in business, she works for Pioneer Bank. She's in her living room with the gas fireplace on. She has no makeup on, and I'm thinking like, it doesn't get any more real than this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the cool thing out of this, and I love it because, I mean, where else can you see Jim Ullery's legs, right? So yeah. I think it's cool because it allows us to actually become a little bit more relaxed. And so if you didn't have that background, Tom, I would never have known about you falling into a crevasse when you were, yes. I would never have known that about you.
Well, so, I'm actually in prison right now.
How's that working for you?
Well, the virus is going all over the kids. It's very close. I'm at a large gathering, touching other people's faces.
Watch out. Oh my gosh. But I just think it's fun. You know, you can have and I love that we can laugh at it because it's just, you know, we're in a crazy time, and if we can just relax a little bit, I think we get to know each other a lot faster. Yep. I like that I don't have to put a suit on to sit down to talk to people on Zoom. You know, I do it when I speak at conferences because it's protocol, right? So
right.
But it's really, I think it's refreshing that, you know, we can be a little more casual and be ourselves and, you know, be a little more forgiving about how we look. And it's a big thing for a woman to get over. You guys don't realize what we have to go through. And I mean, I can't even look at myself right now. So anyway, but it's just, you know, we have to get over it, but it's worth it. I guess that's my perspective. It's worth sucking it up for it. You know, it's worth it. So.
Backing up to when you were talking about Zoom and being authentic, also, if you're going to get into a group of people you don't know, I got a tip from a local photographer. He's actually going to be on a show with me on Monday, Kevin Seifert. He talks about making a tile where you can promote yourself. So everybody just has a headshot, but what you can also do is have a headshot where you're in the corner and have text on it and promote yourself when you come on the call. And then if you had to run to the bathroom or something, God forbid you're not on your phone and taking that with you and leaving your camera on, but what you can do is promote yourself when you're not showing your video.
Yeah, because if I turn off my video right now, and I don't know if everyone else does that, but if you have a Zoom account, so take 2 seconds. If you're going to use Zoom again, take 2 seconds to create an account and put your, thank you, Hank, because when you're not there, that's what you see. And I'm going to stop my video. So now you see our face with the photo that we've chosen. And I can get up and run to the ladies' room if I need to, or I can take a switch. There goes Jim. Jim's got it too. So, you know, you can actually take a minute, or if you're in a call that you don't want to actually have to get in for, so Sarah, if you were really being shy, you could just let your photo do your speaking for you on a really good hair day. So but it's, you know, it's worth it just to create a Zoom account just to have that ability, so that if you're, you know, if you're able to attend but you don't want to be seen, or you need to be able to step away to take a call, you're not being rude by just leaving a blank, you know, blank space or whatever, that you're basically giving people, it looks like you're still present. It looks like you're still present. You're still there, and you are still listening, and you're participating. But anyway, yeah, so that's a good tip. That's a good point, Hank. Very good point. So hopefully we've helped Joe and some other people think outside the box about transitioning to this new virtual networking thing. Is there anything else? Like, is anyone else? Do we want to talk about tools maybe for a couple of minutes, Hank? Like, I mean, we talked in the beginning about, I mean, I use Calendly. It's a great way to let people pick what times that are really convenient for them. There's so many tools available, but I think the fact that folks.
Yeah, I'm actually coming out with a blog post. I work for 4 different brands. I don't know which one is coming out on, but you can probably just follow me on social. It'll come out, but it's talking about a whole bunch of tools. It's like 3,000 words long. But I use Calendly, and I actually found new ways to use that recently. I use Asana and Trello for project management. I really love Zoom and GoToWebinar for webinars. So if you're doing a webinar and you just want to talk at people, GoToWebinar is the best. But if you want to collaborate and have a little more intimate conversation, Zoom is obviously better. If it is good, which can move data around, like if this happens, do this. Using social media posting tools like Buffer, Hootsuite, that helps if you want to start sharing more and being a thought leader. And really, I would just say get on video more, be comfortable on video, because that is the future. It's right now, but it's going to be more in the future, because I think the stat I heard last year was by 2020, 85% of marketing content is going to be video. I don't think we actually got there, but it will be. And I'm kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, willing to talk to anyone, whether it's folks here on this call or they catch this on the replay. That's what I do. That's why I'm a SCORE mentor. I just love to help people. I love to help people grow through digital marketing mostly, but I'm very technical as well. You want to figure something out. I don't know if you guys have any tips or tricks to tools that you guys use, but I like to automate everything and try to do more with less, I guess.
Yeah, and that's huge. And actually, there was a person that was going to be on this call that lives in that space, the automation. In addition to you, Hank, I was hoping that they might be able to, share some tidbits too. But automation is huge, because you don't want to be doing everything manually. You want to try and automate things and let things connect with, even if you have to use the Zapier hooks just to automate things, So it's huge. It's huge. So, and trial and error. What works for one person doesn't always work best for the other person. There's certain things, I remember for years and years and years, everyone was doing the WebEx, the meetings, the WebEx meetings. And we removed it from all our machines after like the first, and we're going back like to early 2000s, but it sucked all our machines. All our machines couldn't function. And I just had to stop using it. So I'm happy with Zoom. To me, it's a much lighter, more nimble platform, and I love the options for recording and profiles, and people seem to have an easier time adopting it, I think.
Right. Just do things. Yeah. Don't be afraid. Get out of your comfort zone. Done is better than perfect is a phrase I've been adopting lately.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we can cover. We're a little bit over time, I guess, but Sarah, is there anything particular you wanted to get out of this? Is there anything you wanted to offer or ask today?
Extroverted time is nice. Just exploring what it means to be selling in this time is hard, and it's a new role for me. I'm in talent acquisition, and I was on the recruiting side for 1.5 years, and now I'm on the sales side as a client advisor with a company called Calica, and trying to figure out what that looks like and how to do that with integrity and with empathy and all of that. It's different, and staying motivated, and so looking for just motivation with that and ways to make those connections.
Yeah, I think, and we talked about that. I don't know if you were on the call for that. We did talk a little bit about that delicate balance, because there's 2 different mindsets right now. So right. Just being sensitive, but also you have to go about businesses some level of business as usual, because we can't all cease operations, and nor do we want to, because if we're really going to come back from this, someone has to have maintained keeping the engine at least in idle. Something's got to be going on for us all to be coming back. So we need to be doing whatever we can to keep things moving along and supporting one another. But I'm sure you're probably faced with a very unique set of circumstances, because you're dealing with human capital.
Right.
It's a totally different selling proposition than trying to sell a product or service. You are selling a service in a sense, but that's very interesting. What are you finding? Are you getting resistance right now? Are you finding that there's resistance to?
A lot of companies have put their hiring on hold. They're freezing it. And so that's put us in a, predicament of had, candidates ready to go on some things. But some companies are still going and, going strong, and it's picking up. What we're finding is that a lot of people that are, passively looking and that we can find on LinkedIn that normally wouldn't communicate with us are being much more willing to because of the times, right?
Right.
And so that's good. Yeah. And so I hope that companies are able to continue hiring, because I think it's a really, interesting time for them to get some really great talent that they might not normally get.
And Sarah, I've been on both sides of the fence, right? I've been a hiring manager and I've been in staffing. I think really when it comes to sales, number one, your competitors are probably not doing it, or a majority of them are not. But what you want to do is probably just meet the personal needs of the person you're reaching out to, rather than any employment needs they have. Just see how you can help. And there's a great article I talk about before they, not talk about, but it was on LinkedIn. I forgot the author, but it talks about before they cheat on you, when vendors cheat on you, is because, you have a honeymoon phase and you're trying to win them and you're giving them flowers, chocolate, like a relationship. You're doing all this stuff, but then it just dies down. It's more of a check-in. Hey, how's everything going? Where you just always need to be nurturing them. And that's what you need to do right now, is just show them how you care and what can you do to help. Even if it's, hey, I know you have 4 kids and it's tough and you've been cooking at home. Here's a Grubhub gift card, electronically. Let me buy you dinner tonight to help you get through this. I'm not doing so bad right now. I can help you. Down the road, if you ever have a need, let's just talk, but I don't care about that right now. It's probably a good way to approach that.
Sarah, what space are you in for anyone that's listening? I mean, what is it you're trying to, who are you connecting to who? What is it you're trying, where do you operate? Like, what is it you're looking for?
So our sweet spot is we work with any company, but the idea is that we have a seat at your hiring table, that we really can get to know who you are and what you're looking for, and what your ethos and your culture is like, so that we can hire for any position for you. So we usually work with small to mid-sized companies, and have all sorts of programs, even to for one company right now in Durham, we are their entire hiring arm and have hired over 45 people in the last 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
Helping them grow exponentially, and took that burden from them. And it's been very successful and really exciting. So we don't have that, we're not IT, we're not healthcare, we do it all.
Right.
Of course, there's some spaces we tend to see more of, because, there's a lot of IT because it's Raleigh. Really making relationships with people and having those conversations with hiring managers. And we're the first one to say that we might not be the right fit for you. And let me point you to the right place if we're not, because we're not for everybody.
Well, and it's important to know that, right? That's like the key to getting your best clients, is knowing who you serve best. Jim's putting his hand up. I'm just, before I go jump to Jim, I just want to suggest, so I don't forget, in case anyone has to leave, that we connect. I'm going to send an email to everyone. Maybe I'll just post up a Google Doc so that we can share. I noticed that Jim put his contact information in there. Anyone that wants to exchange contact information so we can stay in touch, make sure that we're connecting on LinkedIn, and maybe we can support each other and, just check in with each other. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and jump to Jim, because he had some feedback for you, Sarah.
Okay.
Would you say that this is a level of indifference on the part of the customers that you're reaching out to?
Our current clients that I'm reaching out to are all very appreciative of me checking in on them and all that. But most of them have frozen right now for hiring. The ones that I'm reaching out to coldly or warmly, some of them aren't responding, and then some have offered to, have a Zoom call with me and learn more. But part of it too is my own, worry that I'm bothering somebody with something like this at a time when, like a bank that is dealing with so much right now, or a smaller company that might not think that they can make payroll, or, and that's my own feeling of, holding myself back because I'm worried about how things will come across. And I know I need to push past that.
Let me submit for consideration, not only to you, but anybody listening, that, very frequently people think that love is the opposite of hate. And I love the example that was given just a little while ago about sending the HubSpot card and telling people that you care for them. Because, ultimately what we're really talking about here is relationships with people. The opposite of love is really indifference.
Right.
And I think that when I reach out to clients that are not receptive to what I have to share with them, they are, the preponderance of them, even aside from the virus issue right now, is they are indifferent. It's not that they hate me. It's not that they think ill of me. And just a sidebar, one thing I've noticed, I'm not getting those confounded robocalls.
I know.
Stopped.
I know.
I don't know what happened, but I've been trying to get rid of those robocalls. Nobody's robocalling me. I have time to laugh at them now. But no, sidebar, back to, so the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference.
Right.
So whether we're in this environment or the prior environment, if we can get focused on how to deal with indifference, we're conquering 65 to 70% of the interactions that we have with people. And you're right, Sarah, it's all about the head game that we play with ourselves. They don't know who we are. And we pick up the phone, we call them, and we get all nervous and shuddery, which makes it even harder.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying go to the other extreme, and often the pendulum goes on the other extreme and people pretend like they know the person. I'm not saying do that. I'm saying you make an honest call, but you explore with them the current reality. And, earlier when Rebecca was talking about the vision, I think we have to have an accurate depiction of where are we right now in relation to where we want to be. And if we distort the truth on where we are right now, and we lie about where we are right now, we're never going to get where we're going to go because we plot a course that doesn't get us there because we started in the wrong place.
Right.
So what I want to share with you is, if you reach out to me, just send me your email and I'll send it to anybody, is one of the curriculums that we developed is a probing model for dealing with indifferent customers. And I spend my time coaching people. I'm not asking for any fee. I just want to help you with that, because if you can conquer that challenge in your face using a probing mechanism, it will help you greatly. I promise you the tool that I have is very simple. We can talk about it for 10 minutes and you'll get the gist of it. I'll send it to you and you can work from there. And I make that offer.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Happy to help.
That's huge. And I think I love, first of all, Jim, you're always so generous with everyone that you that's just your nature. I'm so happy that you joined us today because you're such a leader and you've been such an example to me, I know, in all the many years that I've known you, and how we can just support one another by giving, and it's just always inspired me to try and do the same in my life too. But I think, you know, the whole thing about the connection and the indifference, I think that's golden. That's, to me, that's probably one of those biggest things that we can take away from this, because there's so many people that that are overwhelmed, that, you know, they seem to be on one side or the other, right? They're either passionately moving forward or they're completely frozen in indifference. They're just frozen. They're just not acting. And I think if we can wake them up, then, you know, we don't have to worry so much about the sentiment of whether you're offending them. Sarah, you're not offending anyone. I mean, I did get that one email that I shared with the group, I think before you came on. It just really took me back. But I think that was a reflection of their struggle, of where they were. not necessarily reflecting on what I was doing, that they were offended by what I was doing. I think it was a reflection, they shared that they lost $300,000 in the market that day. So I think I became their whipping boy. I think they just took it out on me, and I tried not to take it personally. But I think, it's just a very delicate balance. But when, the one thing that came to mind for me when you were talking, that's why I wanted to ask you, one of the things you said was golden. And I think for you to get out there and share that with your audience and to let people associate that with you, is that sometimes, out of these challenging times, people are going to start making moves, and it might enable someone that might become a client of yours, to allow them to see the silver lining, that they might be able to get talent they might not normally have access to. For you to gently introduce that in conversation on LinkedIn, and maybe, drop into some of the LinkedIn groups and start sharing that, I think could totally allow people to see where you're coming from and maybe connect with you on a different level than you trying to just reach out and get business, helping them understand and identify the opportunity. Right. But not in a hungry, aggressive way, but just like, hey, if you're thinking, what you're going to do, if you're wondering how you're going to come out of this, or what you're going to do in 30 or 60 days, because maybe one of your people did take a job somewhere else in a different part of the country or something like that, you have to replace that talent. And maybe there's an opportunity there. So you can help people maybe ramp up and start thinking about that by maybe, posting about it, or, thinking about ways to introduce that. Plant the seed. They might not act today, but they might be willing to act with you in 30 or 60 days if you're starting that conversation early before everyone else jumps on the bandwagon, right? And
that's awesome.
Yeah, because you can help them, you're going to help lead. I think maybe, just to piggyback on what Jim was saying, and even Hank, one of the things we can do is just help try and lead people, see the light, see like this is not a permanent thing. This is crazy because a few days ago, I called, and I have an aunt and uncle that live I have very little family left in the family in the state, but I have an aunt and uncle that live down just north of New York City, and they're elderly. And I called to check on them, and their spirits were so high, and it was such a gift to me to hear they were doing great. They were just happy I was doing great, and my family, and I got off the phone, and I just thought to myself, they grew up in the Depression. Their parents were in World War II, and they see this all as a temporary thing. This is a temporary life event. And I think if we all adopt that mindset, we become a little less scared and realize that this, Jim said right in the beginning, right at the very beginning, people have been through things like this, World War II and epidemics and pandemics and things like that. And we always come out stronger. So if we're prepared and planting those seeds, I think we can all do that. I think because I'm mentioning that to you, we could all adapt that to ourselves, try and be a leader and be a light to folks that are maybe struggling, and showing them how to look past this into their future.
I love that. Maybe I'll do a bed talk. Have you heard about these bed talks?
No. All right. I have not. Wait a minute. Are we going to be sitting in bed the next time we talk to each other?
Instead of TED Talks, they're bed talks, and you sit in your bed and you say you talk about something important. And a lot of speakers.
Look it up.
Speakers who can't go out and do their talks and things right now are doing these bed talks, and they're hilarious. But and it's branded and everything. It's great.
Yeah, David Rendell is the first one to think of it and do it, because his business is decimated right now, and he put a challenge out there, and I was the second one. So the first official that wasn't official. Yeah,
you did.
I have one. He's got a YouTube playlist going with everyone. He said if you do one, send it to him and he'll promote it, and he has it on his YouTube channel. It's a playlist called Bed Talks.
I love it. That's awesome. Okay.
This is going to be a bed talk.
Sir, you have to do a bed talk now.
After I dye my hair.
Just act like you just got out of the shower, sit on your bed and have your hair in a towel.
Like put in a towel, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Put your robe on, your fuzzy slippers, you'll be good to go.
Just say you got inspiration when you were in the shower and you had to do a bed talk.
That's awesome. Oh, gosh.
You guys are
Jim,
great.
you are just full of wisdom. I just love all these things that Jim's sharing in the chat. If you guys haven't looked at chat, you need to open it up and look at it, because you are just like a fountain of wisdom today, as always.
Right. And I hope everybody knew that I'm live streaming this on YouTube and Facebook. But if anybody has any issues, I will pull it down. Just let me know, because I'm showing the chat every now and then too. So
Issues? Why? We're all here. We're all here to support each other.
I'm just, sometimes if you don't ask people, they're going to take that negative route. They're not going to be that thought leader, right? They're going to have that bad day and take it out on me.
Okay, raise your hand if you don't want to be on YouTube. This is your only chance to opt out. All right, good. You have
Poor Dr. Tom. He doesn't even get the option.
I know, right?
Oh my gosh. Well, we have been, you know what? I thank you all. This has been great. This is, I've really enjoyed our chat, and it's really nice to connect with all of you. Some of you I've known for a really long time. I've known Joe and Jim for a very, very long time. Hank and I haven't known each other very long. Sarah, it's been great to meet you.
Yeah,
and I say hello to everyone that I can't see, but I know you're listening and watching, and I hope that you'll join us again when we do this, and also connect with us. And tell us that you were on this, so we can, approach us. We're gonna be, all of us are here to help. I mean, I think we're just here to support one another. And if there's anything you want to talk about that you didn't have courage to talk about in front of everyone else, just ping us. And I think you're just, you're around a bunch of people that really just want to help you out. So
thank you for putting this together.
Time together today. What'd you say, Hank?
Thank you for putting this together. It's awesome.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I'm so excited to be here. I'm just thrilled that, it always works out as it should with certain people that show up. So I'm so grateful for each of you. So
thank you so much for doing this. I feel so motivated and excited now.
Yay! Good. That's the whole point, right? Yeah. All right. So like I said, I'm going to follow up with everyone. Jim posted his chat. He put his contact information in the chat. If you guys want to take a minute to do that, feel free. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and post it. Maybe I'll just put on the blog post. With your permission, I'll be happy to add everyone's name in a LinkedIn link, so we don't have spam going to your email. But if you're with your permission from the blog post, I'll update it with attendees for the video, so people can go to the blog post on the website and get in touch with everyone. Is everyone cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So that'll give everyone a place to get in touch with and maybe reach out if they have questions they don't want to share in public. So
cool.
Great. Anyone else have any last bits of wisdom they want to share? Jim, do you have any parting wisdom to share with us?
Go out and create extraordinary things.
I
love it.
Joe, any wisdom?
Usually we would adjourn with scheduling of the next meeting. What do you got?
We'll do that when we get off the phone. We'll do, you and I will do that next time. We'll do that offline.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. So Hank, thank you so much for facilitating this and co-hosting this with me. This is so great. I look forward. I'd like to do this again. So I'd like to see what everybody's doing and check in and see if we can, get some more people involved and make it more interesting. And Sarah, it's really nice to meet you. I'm so happy to meet you.
You as well.
Thanks everyone for tuning in that we can't see, and we will hopefully see you next time.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.